Friends, good morning. Today's question is how you will explain Scrum to 10 years old kid, and follow-up question is how you will explain Scrum to senior executive, let's say 50 plus years of age. So you have to give an example in both the case. Bye. Have a nice day.
Hi, my name is Amit. Today's question is how would I explain Scrum to a 10-year-old kid, and and then second part is how would I explain the same Scrum to a 50-year-old executive. For the sake of the response, let's break it into former and latter. Former is let's go with the explaining it to child first. Let's before we get into the example or the details, let's first build the persona of this child. First, let's assume that this child is of short height. He has an average stamina of any young kid. Um, now, this child, as Sunan put it up, it's he has an age of 10 years. One more addition is like he likes to play with Legos. For the sake of example, you can also consider this as he likes to eat candies or sweets. I'm going to go with Legos. You'll see how easy it is with Legos. So I believe when it comes to a persona which is childish like nature, I believe it's easier to demonstrate rather than explain. However, if you have once demonstrated and then you make reference back to the thoughts back, it's easier to explain. So first, let's try and demonstrate Scrum to this kid, and then we'll go back and refer and do a call back to all the things in the example to say, okay, these are the explanation. So 2 minutes gone, going into the example. So let's say on one fine day, on let's say Saturday, a father asks his uh, younger kid to build him a ship. Now, he does not tell him what kind of a ship it is going to be, how big, how small, is it going to have weapons or is it going to be for leisure, what kind of a kid, what kind of a ship it's going to be. For the sake of this exercise, he tells him that you can use help of his older brother. Let's assume I am that older brother in this example, and what he does is he tells the ship has to be built out of Legos, which are distributed in this whole room, and the exercise would start. And after certain interval, they all meet up and see how the ship is going on. So that's how he's going to keep an eye on his kids. And let's start with the example. So they start with that exercise. They go inside the room. The kid sees a few pieces of Legos at point A. So they start with that exercise. They go inside the room. The kid sees a few pieces of Legos at point A. He goes there, tries and builds something. He sees another set of Legos a certain distance. He goes there, picks them up. His younger brother, who's me, I'm going to follow him all the way along the journey, and he keeps on doing for a few more steps. After certain Lego pieces, he has built up a considerable canoe kind of a thing, and he then calls his father, who's sitting outside. His father comes back. He tells him, okay, now you build. You do not have a pole. You try and build a pole because it's going to be windy and you would need a pole as well. Now, kids go back to the room and they try and find a Lego piece which would look like something like a pole, and then they once they have a considerable structure of pole, they have integrated on top of that canoe kind of a shape. They go back to the father and they say, how is this going up? He says it's good. Now try and add a pole which is shorter in height, because the shape is going to be the ship is not going to be very large. It's going to be small ship. And while he's gathering more details, so he goes back, tries and find more Lego pieces. Along this journey, my younger kid, my younger brother, he tries to find a few Lego pieces which are maybe deep inside under the bed. maybe a few which are hidden with the blanket, maybe some which are high on some structure like an almirah or something, and he needs help of his older brother who's going to be me. And at that time, I would just step in and rescue him, and maybe go and find the pieces which are deep inside the under the bed, or maybe try and jump and get the Legos which are on high top. So in such a way, I get him all the help that he needs. He also takes a few breaks because he has an average stamina. He tries and go and have a snack in between. He gets tired. He might take a short power nap. So all in all, he gets the help from his brother, and on constant intervals. Either he calls his father into the room, or when he thinks, oh, I have built something, he just runs to his father and says, okay, I have built something. Now check and tell me if this is good enough or not. At that time, the whole exercise goes on. In the evening, my brother is finally under the bed, or maybe try and jump and get the Legos which are on high top. So in such a way, I get him all the help that he needs. He also takes a few breaks because he has an average stamina. He tries and go and have a snack in between. He gets tired. He might take a short power nap. So all in all, he gets the help from his brother, and on constant intervals. Either he calls his father into the room, or when he thinks, oh, I have built something, he just runs to his father and says, okay, I have built something. Now check and tell me if this is good enough or not. At that time, the whole exercise goes on. In the evening, my brother is finally able to build the ship. Now let's do a callback. And now at this time, I'm now sitting down with my brother who has the ship all built and ready with him. Now I'm telling a callback, and then I'm now saying, if you recall, the Lego pieces which were deep under the bed, or maybe under the blanket, or high on top of the almirah, those are referred to as impediments or blockers in your product vision, which is ship that you were trying to build. Those are the blockers. Now, the father in this case, he is a PO who is always telling us, okay, the ship has to have a pole, the ship has to have ropes, the ship has to have a canoe-like structure, something like that. As brother, I am acting as a scrum master for him, who's guiding him, who's helping him, who's just being with him along the journey for the sake of building the ship. And I believe with this demonstration, he would be able to relate more, and he should be able to understand what Scrum is. Yeah, so that's first part of the response. I'll go back to the second one. Starting with the second part of the question, the latter part, which is like I have to explain Scrum to an 50-year-old executive. For my advantage, I am going to consider that the executive is preferably from an IT background, and he understands what SDLC is. Maybe he has worked with Waterfall for a long duration, but not Scrum. So I'm going to explain him Scrum with a few references of Waterfall. Also, he understands and values a lot the customer satisfaction, the CSAT scores, because he knows that if CSAT scores are good enough or high enough or more than your competition, they are bound to give you, when I say they, the customers are bound to give you more projects, maybe a proper appreciation in the market, saying, okay, I have got so and so services from ABC company and they are very good. So he understands the value of positive CSAT and very high CSAT scores. On the other side of the scale, he would also understand the value of low CSAT scores. If they are low, maybe that customer, that company or customer for which that executive is going to build that product, they would badmouth him. Maybe they would share that experience with other product companies, and because of which they might not even get further projects. Maybe the market reputation goes down. Maybe the company's reputation goes down in the market. So on and so forth. One more. So as part of the persona, I'm also assuming that this executive, because he's a very high in age, he understands the market and how prone the market is to change. For the sake of this example, I'm going to consider that this executive and his team is going to build an iPhone, because there was a recent release, so that's fresh. So they are going to build the iPhone version 14 for next year, for next September, and they have 12 months precisely to build that product. Now, either they can go with a waterfall with which that executive is very comfortable with, or the framework that I'm going to propose or convince him is going to be Scrum. Yeah, so that's going to be Scrum. Now, um, yeah, so that's going to be Scrum, and at that point, I uh, I um, I sit down with him and I tell him that okay, let's, yeah, so that's going to be Scrum, and at that point, I uh, I um, I sit down with him and I tell him that okay, let's try and see how Scrum can help you. At the same time, let's try and see that this project of building the iPhone version 14 for next year, how that can be more effective, more valuable for our customer, and let me make out a few differences, so it would be an help for him. So first and foremost, let's say I am that company to which Tim Cook is going to outsource that I build that next version of iPhone 14 for him, and Tim Cook has left the whole SDLC to be chosen on me. And how do I do it, or how I intend to build it? That's up upon me. At this point, I'm considering that I am that executive of 50-year old. So I have the differences. Like first is the feedback. So in case of waterfall, this executive, because he's very well aware, so he would seek the feedback only after let's say 6 months or 8 months, and then when he goes to Tim, he might get a feedback from Tim saying, no, this is not the version that they are expecting. They were expecting something with this time 6 cameras, but they had built something with only 3 cameras. Now they have very less time to make those changes again. So feedback in case of Scrum, let's say for the sake of example, I can meet every month with Tim and seek, okay, we are trying to build a 3 camera system. He might say, no, 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 our market is changing, you should consider 6. I would incrementally, because I have a meeting with, I have a vision to finish this iPhone, at least the first version, by 8th month. So incrementally, every month over month, I try and add more cameras, hardware, integration, everything on the motherboard, and I am able to build a 6 camera system iPhone at the end of 8 months. So that feedback is very important. Next is the CSAT scores. In case of waterfall, if I go to Tim after 8 months, during that 8 month journey, either the CSAT scores are going to be neutral, stagnant. There's not going to be any positive or negative down trend. However, it might also lead to negative as well, because in case of waterfall, I as a company, I'm not showing anything to the to Apple as a company, and they're going to be anxious, and they're going to be like, what is this company going to build us? Are they going to build meet up our expectations or not? However, in case of Scrum, I'm going to meet up with them every month, and my CSAT scores I can track, and I can say, okay, my CSAT score should always be increasing. If they're going down, maybe I'm doing something wrong, and then I can improve myself within the next sprint, or maybe in the subsequent sprints. Next is in case of waterfall, uh, yes, the company where for which I'm working, they would be paying me for the deliverable, which is going to be iPhone. However, in case of second, in this case only, they can say that build me an iPhone 14 version, maybe so and so specifications. You come and build this up to me. However, in case of Scrum, they would say, okay, iPhone needs to be built. Specifications, we are still not sure. We can change, because we know that there is a Samsung event which is going to happen. We know that there is a Mi phone which is going to be released after 2 months. We also understand that this market might change and a new player might enter the market. So in case of, instead of 6 camera system, maybe we need a 10 camera system. So I can change my project over time, and then make the changes as per my customer. So in case of waterfall, the the company Apple is paying me for a fixed deliverable, which is iPhone, just the iPhone with the set specification, because I've hired all the people and I have all the skills and I'm not going to change. I'm more of a static, rigid, stubborn team right now. In case of Scrum, if someone says, okay, me has released a laser kind of feature within my phone, within their phone, they might ask, okay, you have to build a two laser system. Now I have to hire an laser kind of a technical guy and then build up in that. So now they are hiring, now they are paying me for the team. Whatever they say, whatever the requirements are changing, I will be able to incorporate. In case of waterfall, the risk mitigation becomes very difficult, because at the end of 8th month, it's going to be very difficult to incorporate all the changes within 4 months, because next year I have to release the new iPhone version. In case of Scrum, because I'm meeting with them every month over month, and I know that there's a Samsung event, me event which is going to happen, so I can monitor the market change as and when I need it, and I can move along the journey, and I'll be very well prepared for that 8 month milestone, and then around the clock milestone for that. Yeah, very important. Uh, in case of waterfall, I, as the outsourced company, because I'm only going to meet Tim Cook at the end of 8th month. So I, during that 8 month journey, I might add, of course, I'm going to add all the must have features, but during the journey, I might also add a few month over month, and I know that there's a Samsung event, me event which is going to happen. So I can monitor the market change as and when I need it, and I can move along the journey, and I'll be very well prepared for that 8 month milestone, and then around the clock milestone for that. Um, yeah, very important. Uh, in case of waterfall, I, as the outsourced company, because I'm only going to meet Tim Cook at the end of 8th month. So I, during that 8 month journey, I might add, of course, I'm going to add all the must have features, but during the journey, I might also add a few good to have features which might not be very relevant to Apple. However, in case of Scrum, I will only be adding must have features. I can propose, I can suggest all the good to have features. They might like it, they might say no, 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 we don't need it, but then that's a decision of Apple. So at the end, I can try and say only one thing: for waterfall, yes, they will get paid. However, for Scrum, they will get paid along with a higher CSAT scores. They would be able to change the product as per the customer's need, because customer is a higher priority here. At the same time, uh, any extra effort that they might put up in waterfall, because of the ways that they might add, or because the late feedback that they're going to incorporate at the end of 8th month, that subsequently goes out of the window, because that's not going to happen in Scrum. We're going to get all the feedback early on, and every detail is going to be coming from customers on set interval. So yeah, I believe I would be able to convince the executive. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Hi all, this is Abhishek. So today question is how we are going to explain Agile to a 10 years kid and a executive which have a good experience into industry. I'm a very senior executive. So I'll start with a kid example. I usually go and play, start play or I engage a kid with some activity basically. So I need to explain a kid about agile. So definitely I need to choose something where I can explain them how it is effective. So I'll try to visit a park where have a lot of rides. I mean rides as well as water rides. So I reach to suppose SL word, or I can consider any things which have both the things. So they have a multiple options while you're buying a ticket. They have options. I mean, you can go for a water park also, or you can go for or rides also, or you can go for a single stretch for both of the things. To explain a kid, maybe I need to visit sometime extra also. So I visited first time. I went inside with the kids with a full stretch ticket because they request we have to take both of the things. And once we finished the rides, they said we don't have a enough energy to go for a water ride. So in that trip, they are not able to finish it. Then after some time, we again visited the park. Then I explained them, see, last time we took a complete ticket and we want to complete it in a single stretch. So can we go with a multiple time and we can enjoy all the rides and it will come some valuable experience or it will give us a good memories. So they said, yeah, sure. Last time we have done the rides, so this time we have to go for a water ride. And this time they were able to complete lot of rides which give them a value. So sometimes we have to prefer not to do all the things in a single stretch. To take care things in chunk or to take all the things or as a goal what do you want to achieve on that day. So accordingly we have to plan into multiple way so that at the outcome kid understood we have to utilize the day, we have to utilize the money, and in minimum amount we are able to enjoy the water park. So that is a good example which I gave it to them and they understood. I mean, how to utilize the money. While for executive agile understanding, I have a good example which I face in my experience. So I know one very senior L&D resource. So she need to train a complete account with different technologies, and they have to make all the team members agile certified because it's a customer requirement. And they targeted a year where they have to deliver all the skill set. So I told her to do it in this way so that she can continuously get a feedback from the customer. So I told him to create a multiple swim lines where she can make a different skill set and make a small group of people where she have to train them by external resources and third parties or internal resources where and how they will get a certified and while they will move to their particular project they also explain what they have learned and enable different set of people after delivering a one set they get a good feedback from the customer. Then accordingly every month they have planned multiple batches and small batches they have trained and it's a very value addition to the account and all the senior people will be happy. And they small batches they created a PSM1 certified people, product owners and safe certified, DevOps certified. So they fulfill the all requirements and they got a good appreciation from the customer and account side. So that is how they have used Kanban for with the multiple swims and they were able to deliver agile values to the account. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today topic is how am I going to explain Scrum to a 10-year-old kid, also to a senior executive. To explain the Scrum to a 10-year-old kid, I would like to give a task to that kid so that he or she can understand better about the Scrum framework. I would probably start the conversation like, I would like to get dressed you in the morning for your school and you have to leave home early on time. You have to do it by yourself and you must pick your dresses for your entire week accordingly. But they need to fit for the purpose. Suppose you can't go to your school to your in your swimsuit, so you have to be prepared, you have to think accordingly. uh, One more example I would like to give, that if suppose you woke up in the morning and see that it is raining heavily outside, so that day you probably take your raincoat as well. And next day if you see that the weather forecast is showing that it is going to be very hot, then you should take your coat you should not take your coat with you. So being able to change your mind on what you choose to wear is okay, as long as you choose to wear is fit for the purpose. You may mistake, because we all learn from the mistake, but you have to make a small steps, and in every step you can ask, is that right, that what you are doing in that way. If we get something wrong, or we have to change something, that it won't be a disaster. This is how I'm going to explain. Now, the next point is, how am I going to explain Scrum to a senior executive? Now, probably the person is working in a waterfall model from many years, so it will be a bad start if you just start explaining about the disadvantages as you can find while using traditional waterfall model. It will be good if you start explaining Scrum with its some advantage. So first point is, it is a frequent inspect and adapt process, where we are not planning the whole thing at the beginning of the project, where we know very little about the project, whereas we are delivering the project we run the project in a small cycle, and we are trying to deliver the project in an iteration, which is called a sprint in Scrum. And also in that way we can inspect and adapt frequently, because we are learning from our work. We also are learning from the customer interaction, and we bring back those learning into a development so that we can be on the track. While using this Scrum, we are actually delivering the product in a faster rate. Also, we are able to produce a better product with a happier employee. Now, next point is, it is an incremental and iterative way of doing the development. So iterative way, I just explained that we are delivering product in a small chunk, but incremental way is like we are not just developing something and getting feedback from the customer, but every time we are developing something which is consumable, which is actually adding value to the customer, and customer is also having opportunity to give the feedback about the product. If any point of time customer thinks that he or she is not happy with the product, then and there he can stop that particular project, so that here they can save the time, they can save the cost as well. So it is a great advantage if we use Scrum. The next thing is that Scrum is for the complex product. Now complex product is that we know about the problem, but we don't know about the solution. So where we don't know about the solution, we need to explore, and we need to explore, we need to start our working with some assumption, and based on that assumption we are developing our product, and we are getting the feedback from the customer, and in this way we are actually able to achieve the particular. Now the next point is, in Scrum, we are working in a small group of people towards a particular goal. Whereas in traditional method, we have seen that project manager is creating the plan and dividing the task among the team member, and team member is only focus to finish those particular tasks. They are not focusing on the goal, like what will be the end result. If it is fails, it is not their fault, because they are only following the plan which has been given to them. Whereas in Scrum, people are working towards a particular goal. They are not focusing on the task only is he or she is responsible for. They are a self-organizing team and cross-functional team, so they are working towards a particular goal. They own their task, they own the responsibility, and they have the accountability to finish those tasks, as well as to reach a particular, to meet the particular goal. So I think this is the way we can deliver the product which is actually valuable for the customer. So this is how I'm going to explain the Scrum to a senior executive.
Hi all, good evening. My name is Ganesh. Today's question is how we will be explaining Scrum to a 10-year-old kid, and how we'll be explaining Scrum to a very senior executive. So when it comes to explaining Scrum to a kid, I think most popular sport today is cricket. So I would take a cricket as an example, and I would explain Scrum to the kid. For example, earlier we started with the test, and we can say test as a waterfall model and T20 as a Scrum. Scrum always focus on delivering things fast. So uh, so when we take a T20 format, we have the uh, we have batsmen, we have bowlers, so we can call them as testers and developers. And we can call the umpire, who is going to define rules, as who really is kind of a chairperson as a scrum master. And we have the board of control, who controls all the things. We can call them as stakeholders. And obviously we'll be having viewers who will give time to time feedback. When the team is playing, we can take that as a customer feedback. So this way, to the kid, I would take a cricket as an example. And I would be helping the kid to understand the overall scrum process. Thank you. Hi guys, this is part two. So for a senior executive, how we can explain Scrum? So for a senior executive, definitely I would explain Scrum by taking one example. So I would suggest, I would definitely tell him to look back to a Google Plus, which was a good competitor of the Facebook. The reason why Google Plus failed was it never took feedback from any of the users. I mean, if you compare the features of Google Plus, there was some one feature which was typically failure, where you could add family members to your circles. Who would want to share uh, who want to really chat with a family member online? So uh, that's how Google Plus lost its place when it compared to Facebook. So when we take up Scrum as a process, right, we do we deliver uh, all the products in the chunks. For example, we don't develop the entire product and release it to the customer. So if you take Facebook, right, it started releasing module by module. So every module it used to release, right, it used to take customer feedback. So in Scrum we have an option of customer feedback, which is very very important, which is the core success of Agile or the Scrum. Whereas in the waterfall model we don't have that option. So we can say it is just like typically like a Google Plus. In a couple of people, they come, they design, in the end they deliver the project. um, uh, Probably this is how I would try to explain the senior person, by giving the example success of two products in the market. I hope I have answered the question. Sunand and team, please let me know your feedback on this. Thank you very much.
Hi, Jagdish here. So today's question was how would I explain Scrum to a 10-year-old kid or to a senior executive? So I would like to start with the 10-year-old kid example. Here, I would like to tell that kid that Scrum is something that is used in creating something very complex by starting with the simple things first. which are essential, and gradually increasing with the time. For explaining this, I would like to take example of herself or himself only. Like, did she know about reading and writing from the first day then when she was admitted to the school? The answer would be no. So she started her learning by first alphabets, then creating simple words, then creating complex words, then statements, then pronunciations, like that, and which was regularly checked and verified by her teachers in the form of test. This is how I would like to give example how Scrum works. So coming to the next question, like how I would explain Scrum to higher senior executive. So in this case, I would like to give him example of a waterfall model, where client get to know the product at the end of development cycle. So in this case, any change or any update after the development is a very tricky part. And in this, so I would like to give him example of, like, if client is expecting a four-wheeler vehicle which is very cost effective and eco-friendly too. In this case, client is expecting something as e-cart, but the development team had created a hand cart, so that would be a major blunder and embarrassment too. And redevelopment of it would be a very time-taking task. In the case of Scrum, this won't be a case. In Scrum, we get to collaborate with client and get time-to-time feedback on how development is, what exactly our expectation of client, are we matching to it. So this is how it works, and this is how I would like to sum up. Thank you.
Scrum to a child and also to your senior executive. So I would like to explain Scrum to the child with an example with his school football team. So in his football team, they have players and they have a coach. So in my team is like that. The players are like the developers in my team, and Scrum Master is like the coach in their football team. So they know how their coach works, the coach can help the team to play nice and work together as a team. Like that, a Scrum Master works. A Scrum Master work with the development team. The development team, they are the players in the Scrum team. So the Scrum Master work with the development team and help them to do a little better every day. The Scrum Master make sure the people or the players in his team play nice and work together as a team. So a Scrum project is like we are building a project with small increments. So I would like to explain the project or Scrum to him with an example of the project he do. So if he has a project to paint a picture, to draw a picture of a house and a tree and a river, so he will be drawing what he usually do. He draw him a portrait, a picture of the house. Then he look at it. Then he himself gives a feedback. Okay, this looks good, or I can correct it. If he wants a change, he can erase the picture and he can draw again. Or he can, if he wants to draw a picture of a tree, he can looking at the picture, he can decide where should I draw the picture of the where should I draw the tree, where should I draw the river. Like that, he can look into his project or he's painting, and he can himself give a feedback. So this is how a usual project also happening in a software project also happening. So the team or the person or the team decides, okay, what should I do first, and looking at the first product, he or she is looking, and he or she planning for the next product. So looking at the next one, he or she planning for the next. So basically,
Hi, this is Kirti here, and how would I explain Scrum to a 10-year-old kid? A very interesting question, and my answer would be I would start with this 5 Scrum values, that is courage. When you have the courage to ask questions in your class, when you have courage to ask your friend, why did you do this to me, or did I do something wrong to you, or when you you can stand up for your own things, that is courage. Then the next thing would be commitment. When you decide that, okay, I'm going to finish this portion today, and no matter what, this is my commitment towards my goals set. So that is commitment. The focus, where I decide that okay, I do understand that I need to improve in math, and if I practice this today, just math, then I'm sure I'm going to complete this portion. So focus would be your in short, a commitment towards achieving your goal. Then openness, when you make people feel comfortable, and when you make an environment which is open to talk to each other, and where you can actually like in your classroom, you can even contribute in your classroom to creating such environment where the teachers and the students collaborate and they discuss things, and even when you do a group study, it's openness. So courage, commitment, openness, and respect. So that is the value which I think impacts every human, and when you respect somebody, automatically the person respects you back, and you will just feel amazing about the relationship you have just built with not only your teachers, your colleagues, students, sorry. So in the same way, we do that in our office as well, baby, and we do follow these 5 principles just to ensure that we do respect each other. So these are not just for your Scrum when you're practicing Scrum, but this is really, really important in your personal life as well. And another thing is the pillars of the Scrum, that is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Because when you're transparent, when you have the courage to speak the truth, when you have when you're open that what issues you're facing, the next person will empathize better, and of course we all can make a better work. Next question is, how would you explain Scrum to a 50-year-old executive? So I would like to understand that where is he coming from and what is his aim, so that I can be more and more clear in my thought process, and as well as explaining him the things. What worked for me in my case was when we transformed ourselves from waterfall to agile was time to market. So first thing would be definitely with a very detailed out plan and distinct down plan, and just sequential based planning like we had earlier. The time to market was really, really bad, and which we have improved, or which we have achieved by applying Scrum in our organization. So definitely that is going to be one point. The second point would be the continuous deliveries, so which would definitely not just delivering anything and just taking feedback and failing and learning and failing and learning. It's not only about that. We're building something which is consumable, which is adding value to the customer. The third thing would be earlier there was like very much detailed out plan where everybody was doing just their part. So a tester would come in, test, a developer would come in, develop, architecture would design. So everybody was doing their job, but it is just their job, it's not their onus. So and team were not accountable. If you have any failure or anything, it is just the plan which has failed. So instead of that, it was there was no accountability on the team who is doing the main stuff. So the self-organizing teams here, if we are giving some accountability to some team members, they own it by self-organizing. So they are the ones who say what plan will work, what doesn't work. So they are accountable as well as, so this is a new leadership style which is really creating wonders, and that is what I would opt for. Thank you. So part 2. So we all can make a better environment for you as well as for the others who are dealing with you. So transparency, inspection is when what you have done till now, you can just check that. For an example, you go to you know what the weather is. It's raining outside, so it's up to you to choose your clothes accordingly. Anything is okay, the raincoat, the umbrella, anything is okay as long as it is fitting the purpose. So it is very important for you to pick the right things and inspect what you have picked is right or not. So that is inspection and adaptation. For an example, you've made a weekend plan and suddenly your friend comes up and says, okay, I have a better plan. So what do? Or it's raining outside, you've planned a picnic outside. So what do, son, if you, or daughter, if you decide that okay, now I cannot go, and you just spoil your mood, or you are agile enough to pick some other plan which is equally fun. So that ways it is what we do in our office as well, because the world outside is not the same anytime. So based on how you break down all the problems in small pieces and you inspect, adapt and achieve a bigger goal in your life. So just ensure that whatever you are doing is adding value to you as well as others whom you are dealing with. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. This is Manoj. So today's question is really interesting. How will I explain Scrum to a 10 years of old kid and to a senior executive whose age could be more than 50 years, right? So before starting discussing on this, I just wanted to highlight one point here. Scrum is not only applicable in IT industry, it is applicable everywhere, wherever it is possible, right? So starting with 10 years kid, how will I explain him? My son is the right example here. His age is also 10 years, right? So I started asking him, are you interested to learn about Scrum? He said, yes, study. Then I started asking, during summer you have started plantation, that mango seeds, right? Then he explained all those things. Then I started telling him, like, your mom is your Scrum master. How? Because she was facilitating all those things, and you, including your friends, are developers. You discussed together and planned. That is your collaborate to each other. And during your first implementation, you did inspect, and then you started adapt in your next implementation. And each time when you do that implementation, you plan something. That is your sprint plan. And after plantation, you started reviewing the feedbacks. That is your sprint review. And then you started retrospect those things, how you could do better for the next time. That is your sprint retrospective. So this is how you are planning better and better based on your experience. Also, one more point here, you all have 4 values here: focus, trust each other, courage. You all have one interesting to achieve something. So those things are making you success. This is how agile. And the second time when I started discussing with a senior executive, as I told, Scrum is not only for IT industry, everywhere, right? Let's say one senior executive who is my friend, and he is a builder, right? He's working for home constructions. So how will I explain him? When he started working with a team, having like one mistri or few more kilna developers, and he's having one contractor who will guide them, designer, all those things. So those are all team members, and everyone is having trust with each other. So cooperate to each other, understanding. So while doing that constructions, they are not immediately started work, right? They will do some plan, and then first phase they will do that foundation, that is your sprint, and after foundation they will do the flooring work, all those things. So each time they are doing some inspect and next adapt, and they will improve the improvement they will implement in the next sprint. So this is how, if you work, your work will complete very soon. In between you can implement the changes if required, so it will not uh, uh, trouble you while you are started working on this. So what are the benefits you will get? So those things I'll explain in a better way, so that the person, the senior executive, will understand things and will show interest to implement this. And this is not possible over the night, but yes, the way, if you start work on this, you will definitely get the better output. Yeah, this is how my understanding. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So today's question is how you will explain Scrum to a 10-year kid and senior executive. So first of all, we'll go through a 10-year kids example. I will ask children or kids where they want to go on weekend, like in park, water park, or restaurant. So suppose they choose park, so I will ask them to be ready. We'll go to park and they will start planning what things they want to take to a park, like games, chocolates, snacks, badminton, etc. So this, they are doing planning what they will do, and we go to the park. They enjoyed, they played a lot. There they were making puzzles. So they were arranging one by one, so that one by one is increment. And they have completed their puzzle whole, and enjoying in a park, we start coming back to our home. So while coming back to our home, they started thinking that what things they have missed this time, and they will do that in next time, then whenever we will visit. While coming to our home, while coming to our home, they saw a shop of chocolate, and they again asked for chocolate. So this is, you can say that this is a change in our plan, because we started from park to come to home, but in between they asked us to take a chocolate. So the one, they were deciding that what they have missed and what they will plan to do in next time. So that is a improvement, you can say. So this is the example of kid. So how I will explain to senior executive is, I will explain him about the traditional model, that what is traditional model. We are doing planning so much, and we are not exactly looking into the execution of that plan, because we don't know what will happen after doing so much of planning and executing it, whether it will be useful or it will generate revenue or not. But I will explain them about iterative and incremental approach, that if we will provide some parts of the some parts, it will be helpful to the customer, and they will start using it, and it will provide revenue in terms of business. Thank you.
Hi all. Today's topic is how do I will explain Agile to an 10-year-old kid, and how I am going to explain the Agile to the senior executives. First, when it comes to the kid, so when it was a 10-year kid, I will probably start with a story. So I will tell the kid a small story. Consider there was a father and a son. So father and son both have planned to do some paper Taj Mahal. This was an assignment given to the kid in the school. So what happened? Father asked the kid to go to the shop and bring paper and glue so that we will get started. So the son was out of excitement and he has gone to the shop. After getting the things and he was coming off the way, father called his son and told, in addition to that, you have to get one more item. So we need scissors, we need a knife to cut the papers. Then again, this child has turned back to the shop, is off of the way, he's turned back to the shop to purchase one other item. After buying that item and coming back, again his father called and told, hey, there is one more item, like we need a scale to measure and cut the papers. So it would be good if you bring that item. Again, this guy off of the way returned back to the shop to buy the things and come. Again, when he was off of the way, the father asked, in addition to that, can you bring the stables as well, stablers as well? Again, this guy have to go back to the shop to get it and come back. So this continued like that. Finally, the guy reached home very late and they couldn't able to do anything. They planned like they will complete the activity, entire activity by 1 hour, but at the end of 1 hour, they didn't do anything. But the smart father, next time he planned it a different way. What he did is, he asked the son to go and buy the things and come back. When he was off of the way, he called his son and told, yeah, whatever the 2 things that you have bought is correct, but give the things to me. Again, you go back to the shop and bring and come the new things. Again, this guy went to the shop. Meanwhile, the father started working on the items. So whatever the items that he has in his hand, he has started with that. Similarly, again, this guy went to the shop and came back to the home, gave the hand over the 3rd item. Again, father asked, you have to bring one more item. Can you go back to the shop and come back? Meanwhile, when the son was coming in, he has completed some 50% to 60% of. This is what Agile says. So you don't have to do everything at a stretch. You don't have to keep everything ready and do everything at one stretch. You can do a step by step. Like you can do a small complete steps to ensure you are arriving to the bigger product. So this story I will say to a 10 over kill. In addition to that, on the testing value, we can say that when the son has bought the ruler, it was broken. He didn't check that in the shop. Instead, when he has arrived to the home, he has checked it and he found it was broken. So instead, if you would have tested in the shop itself, it would have helped him to return it back. So these are the things that I will tell to a 10-year-old kid to make them understand what Agile is. But when I'm explaining to the senior executives, so I should not waste their time. It should not be lengthy. So what I will prefer is I will tell them what are the benefits we are getting out of the Agile. First thing, I will tell them that at end of every release, at end of every go live, you will get one value add, one additional feature to the product, so that you can market that particular feature and we can increase the revenue. Second thing is, Agile will allow you to avoid the waste and rework. Because of the structure of the Agile and the framework ensures you to avoid the rework and the waste that are occurring in the traditional models. Third, it will increase your cost revenue. So these are the 3 things that I will tell them, that this particular structure will allow you, this particular Agile mindset and the Agile framework will make sure that the scope creeps and other changes will not enter you in any loss. Instead, it will help you to achieve the target, and at the end of everything, every release you will have some value add released to the production. So this is how I will explain it to the kid and the senior executive. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Praveen Kumar. So today's question is, how will you explain Scrum to a 10 years old kid, and the same thing to a senior executive having more than 50 years old? So we know that Scrum is nothing but it's a iterative incremental process having the characteristics of inspect and adaptive nature. So when we are explaining that one to a kid, we can compare that one to his classroom, where his class teacher can be the Scrum Master, as well as the class, entire class is the development team. And we can also consider the principal as the product owner. So the class teacher, the Scrum Master, she had the responsibility to inspect and adapt the students for their ability, and encourages and support them to go to their peak level. So we can consider the entire whole year as the project period, and divide each quarter as the sprint. So the teacher will be tracking and reviewing each day, daily reviews and daily meetings, daily classes. He'll be tracking, she will be analyzing the students for reaching the quarterly exam goal, that's sprint goal. And the purpose is whole year's output, the project should be promoting them to the next grade. And she will be also responsible for removing the impediments. That means, is there any kind of problems, issues within the students for learning something, stoppage of learning something, or any other external issues. She has the ability to remove that impediments. So we can just explain in this way to the specific 10-year-old kid. The same thing if you are explaining to a senior executive having more than 50 years, we can explain the one of major features of the Scrum to that person. So we can just explain, just like Scrum is an iterative and incremental process. So apart from other methodologies, we have Scrum having the feature of iterative process, where we are learning each time, and we are getting the information from the client and improving ourselves to get new things in the next sprint. And it is an inspect and adaptive process. That means it is not a fixed one. So each time it is clearing, or it is removing the impediments, or removing the issues within that one, and changing itself to get more from on the next iteration. So it's inspect and adaptive process. And another feature is this can it is introduced in the complex systems. It does not mean that Scrum is meant for all the systems. For simple simple problems, it does not want to implement the Scrum there. For complex systems where the solution is unknown, we can go for that one, because we are assuming we are improving ourselves on the next each and every iteration. So a complex system may be more better to implement the Scrum for getting a good output. And another thing is the entire team, the whole team has one goal, and they are focusing on one goal, sprint goal, to achieve that one. And just another feature is the development team is accountable for reaching their output. They are responsible for getting the output, as well as they are accountable for the output also. So these are the main features we can explain to a senior executive regarding Scrum. Thank you.
Hi all, this is Praveen. Today's question is very interesting. If you wanted to explain a Scrum methodology to 10-year kids and executive of your company, which would around 60 years old, how you gonna explain with the example? So let me start with explaining or given the example of how I will explain Scrum methodology to kids. So I'll explain kids saying that like we know that we help kids as a family member in homework. So let's say that kids get homework from the school. So here in my example, principal or teacher would be the product owner from whom kids will get the homework. And we know that as I said, we will help kids to finish, in order to finish his exam, homework. So her or his mother would be the Scrum Master, who will make sure that the homework will be finished. If kids get any obstacle or any blockers in order to finish the homework, so she will make sure that it will fix. So in my example, kids mother would be the Scrum Master, and kids again will be the development team, who play the development team, who will try in error and try to finish the homework from his level. However, in my example, the kid's sister or brother would be the QA team, who from whom kids can check the his homework and homework or quality of the homework, I would say. Next, move to the BA part. So BA would be the father. Let's give opportunity to father being a BA, or he can understand the requirement, or he can check entire, I would say, understand the work and help to analyze the homework and all blah blah things. So father would be the BA. So in that way I will which part Scrum will play in my example. And next question was how I will explain Scrum methodology to executive level. So at executive level, we don't need to explain in deep. However, we just need to explain in just give you an overview of the Scrum methodology. In that case, I am trying to give you the benefit as well as the advantage of the Scrum methodology to executive level. I will help him to understand how Scrum methodology will helpful to use in the product, as well as how Scrum methodology help in continuous increment, as well as team collaboration, as cross functionality and extra benefit and etc. Also, I will help him to understand how Scrum team to help to deliver the project and soon. And here also how customer feedback will be matter, or customer collaboration will be there in the Scrum methodology. So this all bullet point I will try to explain my executive level, and if he or she will have any question, so he can always approach me, and I will try to explain the further question if he should up to me. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Hello friends, good evening. This is Gautam here. So today's question, a very interesting question. How do you explain Scrum to a 10-year-old kid and to a 50-year-old senior management kind of person? Let's take the first one, 10-year-old kid. So I was thinking like how to explain it to a 10-year-old kid. And I thought like I'll take the example of cooking. Okay, just imagine that a father is explaining to a son what is a Scrum or how does Scrum work. Okay, and in order to explain it, he's using the cooking. So he can say like say you are the client. Okay, he's saying to his child that he's the client, and take your mother as a project owner. Okay, and you can also take like there are 2 or 3 mates in the home who help her to make the cooking. Okay, so as a child, as a kid, you ask your mom to prepare some food for you. Okay, you ask something. A 10-year-old kid might ask anything. So his mom, as a product owner, will be planning how to produce or cook that food for the kid. Okay, she will plan everything. She will decide what vegetables to use, what is the process, and all those things she will plan together with the maid. And here, the maids will help her to develop that, food, or prepare the food here. Okay, then it is presented to you as a kid. You eat it, you know, and you give her a feedback. You say like, this is too spicy, this is so sweet. You might give anything. Okay, then according to your taste, your mom will adapt her cooking style, or she decides to change something in the recipe so that it suits your needs. So this is how I thought of explaining to a kid who could easily relate it for his age. So this is one thing with regards to 10-year-old kid. The next thing, how you will explain it to a senior management guy. Here I would like to take an example of the sports. I will ask him like, uh, what sport do you watch most? I imagine this, okay, saying that I watch cricket. Mostly it's very famous in India. Everyone watches cricket. So you can ask him, or you can say to him like, why don't you watch a rugby match once? Yeah, or American football. Why I'm quoting this American football is, or rugby, is because even the co-creator of Scrum, Jeff Sutherland, took inspiration from rugby in creating the Scrum. You know why? Because we've seen the rugby match. All the players tend to, or they have a ball, they have in their hand, they pass it to each other player, yeah, and in the process of passing it, they move forward, and ultimately they try to reach the goal. People pass the ball to one and the other person, then it finally, as a team, they deliver the ball to the goal. So this is a very, very classic example set by, not an example, this is what inspired Jeff Sutherland to create Scrum. So this is what I will say to the senior management guy. Okay, just see how a rugby team plays rugby. Okay, how they pass the ball to each other, and how they react when someone tries to block their process. They suddenly change their plan, like switch the ball to other person who's running behind or forward to him, and ultimately as a team they deliver the ball in the post. This is the one I would give to the senior manager. It might sound basic, but he will get the logic. How we plan and how we deliver, and what if something happens in the middle, how we react, and once we deliver, how we inspect and adapt according to the changes or everything else. So these are the two things. Let me just repeat. For the first one, for a 10-year-old kid, I will show him how his mom is cooking for him. The second one, for a 50-year-old senior management guy, I will just show him the rugby match, and I will say to him like, this is how Scrum works. That's it, guys. Please give your valuable feedback. Thank you. Bye.
Hi all, this is Satish. So today's question is, how will you teach Scrum to a 10-year-old kid and also to a senior executive in your organization? Maybe coming to the first part of the question, how will you how to teach Scrum to a 10-year-old kid? So one of the example I will provide, this is based on one of my relatives son who is almost, I think, 11 years old. He was on a summer vacation, but he was very eager to learn swimming on seeing the but at the same time he was very afraid, even just going down the steps in the well. So but based on seeing his friends, they were all able to learn swimming successfully. He was also very eager, but at the same time he was having fear. So what actually he did, what he had a initial conversation with his grandfather, how to overcome that. He was actually guiding. Maybe first through 3 days he was not even moving away from the steps. Then actually his grandfather was guiding. Maybe we can consider this in the form of like inspect and adapt, like he was learning how to overcome that fear. Then after that, next for the next 1 week or something, he was able to learn, but he was still not successful. Like he was still having some fear, but again they had some of the guidance from his grandfather. Then finally, after I think 20 days, he was able to learn partially. So and now actually his grandfather was just only seeing him, and after a month he was able to learn successfully. So this is one of the example I see, like how he was self-managing and learning on himself, and also how he have overcome finally, how he was successful in in, learning and the swimming. Yeah, thank you. Coming to the second part of the question, how will you teach Scrum to senior executive in your organization? So here maybe like I believe like maybe we have to make them understand the benefits of using Scrum, because they would be mostly aware of that Scrum process. Maybe I will cover maybe 3 or 4 points in this. Maybe for first one, I consider like we have to make understand the frequent inspect and adapt that we are doing, unless like the previous waterfall method, like where we plan everything together and we integrate at the end, and maybe there we may see some type of risks or surprise at the end. So by using Scrum, like having that frequent inspect and adapt, and also having continuous interaction with the customer, so based on this learnings and the planning we are doing, maybe we can improve and have the most important value delivered in the form of like every iteration or sprint. So and the second point would be like delivering in iterative and incremental way. Like here to actually we have to make them senior executive understand that for every iteration we will deliver something that the end user will be able to use, and they have the business value delivered, and for each and every sprint they have something business value getting added to them. And maybe that other point I would highlight, maybe this can be used for complex systems where the upfront solution cannot be determined. Maybe based on planning based on a hypothesis or some details we know at that point, we start with a small piece of work based on that learnings and the results we achieve. Then again we plan for a small another work, and we will repeat this cycle, so that when we continue this to build a solution, maybe in between what we initially thought would completely change from that value. This is where like this can be used where we don't know the solution upfront. I think these are the points, maybe main points we would like to highlight to senior executive. Thank you.
Hi, so today's question was very much interesting, like how you explain Scrum to a child who is 3 years or 5 years old. So for example, let's consider like we are planning for a trip, and usually you will be the person who will be making her up, start from the bed to getting her ready and feeding her, and make her to spend the day, and let her go to sleep. So for the first time, if you are asking her to plan her arrange her things, pack her things on her own based on the our travel plan. like you can give her some insights like how the place is going to be, whether it is going to be rainy or it is going to be super hot, or how the climate is going to be, it is going to be cool, or what sort of places we are going to visit, it is going to be an park, or it's a hill area, or we are going to visit any relatives home or temples and anything. So based on the occasions you can ask child to pack the things, like whatever she feels comfort, like if you're going in hot, we can't carry a raincoat, and if you're going to a rainy place, you should be having a raincoat along with you. So such examples, some guidance can be provided, and make your child to plan her packing things of her own for the travel. And you can also, once she is done, you can also help like check on what she have done and give her feedback and help her to understand what things will be necessary while we are going out on a travel. So this will help her to learn what is actually required. So I think this will be one of the example. I don't know whether it is like adding value to explaining Scrum to a child, but I feel this will fit. And so next is how we are going to explain Scrum to your senior executive. So to explain to a senior executive who is more focused towards the management point of view, like we can portray that how much proper planning is going to happen from zero to even there is no knowledge about the product. We are going to anyway start up with the bits and pieces what we have information all about. So there like whether we know or not, we are going to start work on the project, and we are going to strive to deliver a piece of work in frequent way, like this is we are going to have a proper discussion with the customers, and going to have a walkthrough on each and every requirement the client is having towards the expectations. And we will be having frequent deliveries towards the customers, and customers will be involved in the project, and we will be receiving feedback from them, and it also helps us to improve our communication towards them. And also it is like organization and client rapport is going to build, and they are going to get satisfied by the way we work, by seeing the product frequently, like how features are getting added to the product. So it will make them feel relaxed in a way, like in a way that yeah, some work is happening, and it is going in a good shape. And also we are going to this is going to improve the organization impression towards the clients. And there is going to be an iterative and incremental approach. So in a smaller batches and smaller cycles, we are going to deliver and working software to the customer. So it is going to be really amazing in receiving good feedback, and they will get a new idea on seeing the deliveries, and it will help them to think what additions can be done, what deletions can be done, which is not going to add value to the product. So in a shorter period of time, we will be able to get it to a good shape, and greater impact will be made. And also by having proper training, and giving hands-on experiences to the team members, and like people who are having enough problem solving skills, and like focusing more on the performance and the team, and rewarding, and organization support to the team, and rewarding the people based on their efforts they are making, and as a team, appreciating as a team, not as an individual. So this is all going to help as an organization and also as team members, employees of the organization to grow together.
So hi friends, so today's question is really very interesting, like how you will describe Scrum to a 10 years kid and a senior management or executive level in your organizations. So what I will do, like I will divide this answer into two sections. In first section I will explain how I will explain to a 10 years old kid, and the second part I will mention about how I will explain to a executive, senior executives or senior management of the team. So yeah, so if you will consider like a 10 years old kid means hardly he will be in some fifth standard or sixth standard will be, and hardly he knows about what is Scrum and all, what is Agile, how it works and all. So what I will do, like I will give one real life example based on his experience and what he do or follow in his daily life. Like so I will give examples, like suppose he has two different teachers. So one is like very serious, he will give pressures to the student to do this homework, do that, and read this one and all. So she will force and make the student ready and read and all. And her approach is like a commanding kind of things. If student will not read do their homework and all, or not read means she will punish and all. And the other teacher, so other teacher is kind of very means like friendly teachers who understand the students mentality, their psychology and all. So she helps student to do the better, like she helps student to understand what is the problem and all, so where they are lagging, she helps them to do well, read well. So if you see, the end goal of both the teachers are same, like students should do the homework or read well or get good marks in the exam. Whereas the second teacher, what she does, like she does is like she explain the problem to the student and all, she helps the student, and she will not force, she will motivate. So so with that, with her motivation, student reads automatically, do their homework and all, and naturally if they read on their own and all, they realize like it is their responsibility and all, so they definitely they do good in the exam and all. So the end result is yeah, the second question is how to explain Scrum to a 50 years old executives. So as the executive is 50 years, and he must have seen the industry very well, and he must be aware about the software development life cycle, including water and vehicle traditional water and vehicle model. And other than that, more or less some extent he will be aware about this agile kind of thing, even though not in depth kind of thing. So I will just explain him, I will discuss with him like what all challenges they have faced during their traditional approach and all. So whether the customers were happy or not, so if they are happy, what extent they were happy, and what about the teams who were part of this project, so whether they are motivated, innovative, or they, how the team collaboration and all. So I will first of all I will list down all the challenges they were facing and all. So as an alternate approach, I will suggest him, if I will give such a environment where no need to wait for a 6 month or 8 month to get the feedback from the customers and submit the project, and at that time if something goes wrong, then we have to implement from the scratch, like from the analysis, design, or development, testing, all the phase we have to re-execute. So which is not cost effective, and it is not good for the team morale and all. So definitely, so as an alternate approach, this Scrum models, which is a part of this agile framework. So in this approach, I will explain like what all the core values of Agile, what are the core values of Scrum and all, and what all other models are available to implement. So what are the its values? So with using, if the management implement this approach, what all benefit they will get, the team will be motivated, and good collaboration will be there, and they can think innovatively, and yeah, and other than that, they will closely work with the product owner and the client, and instead of releasing the product as a whole kind of thing, they can release as a chunk kind of things, so that they can get early customer feedback. So it is a win-win for customers and team and product owner and organizer to.
Hi, this is Shavik, and one of today's topic is how you will explain Scrum to a kid. Well, Scrum comes under an Agile umbrella, and as we all know, that Agile is all about our ability to move quickly and easily. It's kind of a way of a life, right? Now, how will I am going to explain this to a kid? So suppose if a 10-year-old kid comes to me and asks a question, yeah, like yeah, I want to do this or do that or whatever it is, or however that question ends. Let's not get into the what the kid want. The next question which I will ask him back will be, okay, that's great. So what's the fastest and the easiest way to do that? Now, if the kid has got the answer for this, well, that's agility, right? So I will tell him, yeah, champ, you are agile. Yeah? So I have got many great examples on how I can explain agile or Scrum to a kid of any age. So let me share a few of them with you guys. What I'll do is I'll give a situation to a kid. So say one fine day after dinner, you want to have something sweet and there's nothing at home. Well, you went out to get an ice cream. Now, unfortunately, the ice cream shop is closed. What will you do? Will you buy a donut from the shop next to it to satisfy your sweet cravings? So, agile is what you do when the ice cream shop you went to turned out to be closed. If you're not agile, you come back home because your plan was failed. But if you are agile, you figure out something equally fun to do, right? Something which can deliver value to the stakeholders. Uh, another example that I can think about is about my niece. She loves composing music. She's into this music thing. She loves playing keyboard and composing music as well. So every couple of days, she plays a new or modified piece of music, and she comes back to me and say how whether I like it or not. Sometimes the feedback I give is on the lines like, yeah, it's too exciting, or it's kind of a dull. The beat is too fast, or it's really soothing. So she normally takes the similar feedback from other members of her family, and when we like it, she introduced the same piece of work to her peers, to her friends in her school. So that's a shift left attitude in agile, like keep validating what you are building, making sure the efforts you are putting in is in the right direction to create a value, and that's what agile is all about, right? uh, another really exciting example, and I am very sure that you'll love it. So it's about planning a birthday party. So here's the birthday boy who is a stakeholder and as an organizers can be a PO, right? So first we will make a list of all the things that will make our party awesome, and put them in an order of awesomeness. For example, a massive cake with a superhero theme, if it's a girl, maybe in a Barbie theme, magic show, party bags, return gifts, invites to the guest, music, venues, balloons, costumes, etc., etc. So there can be a lot of things, right? So once we have the list ready, what we can do is we can go over it. I would suggest moving music up the list, maybe, as that will create a brilliant atmosphere, and also the value of invite should be moved up. Maybe because if you don't send out the invite at the right time, if people are not there in the party, then there will be no party, right? So based on the value that each of this line item generates, we will reshuffle the whole list. Yeah. And then what I'll suggest is that let's do 2 items per day. So we'll pick up 2 items from the list. the first two items from the top, and get them done. And done is like ready to go, ready for the party. That will be like our definition of done that we follow in our Scrum teams, right? So yeah, then what I do, then I would suggest we keep going until we'll keep going through the list until we completed all the things to make the party great. Yeah, like from top to bottom. And while going along, what we can do is we can also come up with improvements and changes in the list. So to give an example, like after say doing the first two, or after first 2-3 days after finishing off 6 items from the list, I'll suggest why not bring balloons as the balloons up the list, as the balloons are awesome, and we may don't may run out of the time at the end to get the movement, to get the balloons, sorry. So let's get rid of the, maybe let's get rid of the magic show. Let's bring in the trampoline. So something like that. So we keep on retrospecting and checking what are things we really want, what are the must-haves, could-haves, following the Moscow technique that we follow in the Scrum team, and refine our backlog. So that's how we can be more agile to achieve our product goal, right? Which in our case is an amazing, fun birthday party. Right. I think I have given enough example to make you understand how to help the kid to understand Scrum or Agile. To sum it up, explaining the concept with practical examples and making kids visualize is the key here. So do try it out. Do try it out at your home. Explain the kids at home that what Scrum is and what Scrum Master does. Yeah, what their mom and does at office. So do give it a shot and share the story how it goes. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye. Hi again. So coming to the second part of today's topic, that is how you will explain Scrum to a senior executive. Now coming to senior executive, it can be very challenging, especially when the senior executive is coming from a traditional way of working background. So to start with, it is very important to identify what is really crucial for the senior executive. Then maybe we can follow it up with a demonstration of how Scrum can help in meeting their needs, right? Let me share a few pointers which I may use to persuade a senior executive to get a buy-in for Scrum. I'll tell them that how Scrum is a frequent inspect and adapt process. How Scrum helps the team to learn from the work they are doing, and also with the customer interaction that they're having. And then how we are bringing those learning back into our development, right? So it's an incremental and iterative way of development. It's not like you build a prototype first and then you get a feedback and then you build the actual software. It is more like you develop something which is the working piece of software and which is consumable and which can start giving the business value soon. Yeah, that means it promotes the early ROI realization. Yeah. Scrum is meant for the complex projects where we know the problem, but still need to problem solve. And the risk of developing the wrong solution is reduced if we follow Scrum, and which in turn saves the overall cost of the project, right? So typically the senior executives or the management, they look for these factors: how we can reduce the cost, how we can generate more margin out of a project, how we can make the customers happy, how we can time the market. So Scrum helps in all these. And if I'm going to convince or explain Scrum to a senior executive, I need to hit these points which they are interested in. If I try to say something else which are not relevant to them, they may not understand properly, or we may not get a buy-in from them. So that's the key here. Yeah. And also the early delivery that can generate higher level of customer satisfaction. So if we follow Scrum, there is we deliver fast, which satisfy the customers, right? And Scrum is an approach which is a mix of feedback, learning, and value creation. Customers are also encouraged to provide regular feedback and help to shape the future iterations. So based on their feedback, which keep on updating our backlog. And also it helps the customers to feel involved in the whole process of development. Since they are interacting with the development team throughout the process, it gives them a satisfaction. So I heard it in one of the videos in Career Talks. So they said like, let the customer don't sit on the other side of the table, bring him on your side, make him sit beside you and collaborate. So that's what Scrum does, right? Okay, I think I covered most of the thing. Yeah, one more aspect. There is one more aspect of Scrum that I would like to highlight to the senior executive, and that is it makes the team members self-organizing and accountable for the final solution, rather than singling out a project manager or a delivery manager. In Scrum, it is the responsibility of every team member. So it's a pull towards value rather than a push towards value model. And if I say and to say like Scrum promotes cross-functional team. Yeah, Scrum promotes cross-functional team, and how it's going to help. So team members with different skill set, they cross-train each other, increasing the capability of the whole organization, right, over the time. So you will get to see the long-term value proposition if you follow Scrum, which promotes the cross-functional team. So I'll close my pitch by saying that Scrum is an answer to a problem that they don't know they have. Scrum is a growth accelerator. Scrum has a proven track record of helping software companies build better products faster, better address customer needs, and create a stronger corporate culture. These are the three important factors that almost lead to stronger company growth. So, and Scrum consistently leads to better outcomes. So that is proven. Even the research also says that the products developed through Scrum have 3 times the success rate of the traditional waterfall or non-agile products. And more importantly, Scrum projects and products rarely fails. So that's the key thing, right? Scrum projects and products rarely fails. With that, I'll close my call. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. Cheers.
Hello everyone. Today's question is, how will you explain a Scrum to a 10-year-old child and a senior executive? We'll take the first part. How will you explain a Scrum to a 10-year-old child? We can tell like, I want the child to dress up for 1 week. You can plan it for 1 week. You can, if you want, you can take help from your mother also. So whatever you plan for the next week, it should fit for the purpose. That means for going to school, we cannot wear a swimsuit. And also, whatever we plan for the next week, we can always expect a change. That means on a rainy day, you use a raincoat. So you expect that or change in the plan. And also you can learn from your mistake. That means on a rainy day, if you are forgetting to take the raincoat, then you will learn from the mistake so that you will not repeat it for the next time. Here we can consider the child as a team and his mother as the Scrum Master. And the period of 1 week is the project time, and sprint is for 1 day. And in the end of the week, both the child and the mother can sit together and inspect what are the mistakes we made, how we need to improve, so that you can plan effectively. And the next part of the question is, how you explain Scrum to the senior executive. That means for this question we need to ask one more question, like to whom we need to explain. Senior executive means if it is a management team or some other person else, so that we can mold our answer likewise. So in this case I am trying to explain to some management team. So we can explain like Scrum is a process which is using inspect and adaptation as a principle. That means in old project management, we plan everything very early, where we know very little about the project, and sometimes it is not clear, but we need to follow the plan till the end of the project. But in Scrum, we run small cycles of iteration. It is called a sprint. So we learn from our mistake in this process, we learn from customer feedbacks, and we implement these learnings back into our processes so that we are keeping on track. This is how I can explain to management team. Thank you.